Now, next stage, the Poland. Let's have a look at the Poland. The Jews expelled from Portugal. As I said, it went to Poland. Some of them went to Poland and Netherlands. So let's have a look at the Poland. And this is very, very interesting. And also it's quite big. So I'm gonna make it concise. Because if you are interested in the Jewish history in Poland, you can spend hours and days in this one, and you can go deep. So I hope that some of you might be interested in and walk through this door and then go further in this one. But Poland, I give you the brief one. So Poland is a country who treated Jews very well, tolerant and welcomed Jews. And there's a particular reason for that. Interestingly, how God works and how things work is so mysterious, so strange, so fascinating. You see, the Poland, situated in kind of middle towards East Europe, yeah? And time is about 14th, 15th century. This is that all those immigrants came. But there's a particular reason why Poland wanted the Jews rather and welcomed the Jews. The whole reason was happening about a century ago. What happened? Poland was catastrophically damaged by the incident happened in the 13th century. What is it? Some of you realize this. Yes, that's it. Mongolian invasion. Up in North China, the Mongolia, there are tribes of Mongolians raised in power under the leadership of Genghis Khan and his tribe. And this Mongolian empire, so fierce and terrifying and strong, they actually occupied the greatest landmass of the world in history. And that came from that northern China, occupied China, the India, and all those places as far as Europe. And the Poland, they was invaded by those Mongolians. And place was ruined. Well, after Mongolian declined and went away, the country is still devastated. You see, they need to be rebuilt. So, the Polish king of that time thought, how do we rebuild our country again? And he thought, well, let's get skilled workers to build like buildings and everything first, infrastructure. So he appealed to the rest of Europe. Any immigrant with skilled hand, please come to the Poland, and rebuilt the Poland basically. So he welcomed all those immigrants. Interesting, isn't it? All that disaster, something bad happened. Catastrophic disaster happened, but through the disaster, the next step, the next door opened, and through the door, this Jewish immigration happened. And so, with the appeal of the Polish king, that a lot of people from Germany, including the Jewish people, who weren't quite happy in Germany at that time. As I said, they were always persecuted, not only in Germany, but anywhere, in Europe. They started migrating into Poland. And with that, their skills are so valued, that the money matters, that their skills, special skills, and their educated mind, etc., etc. They rebuilt Poland with all other immigrants, and also with native people there. And Poland was rebuilt. And fascinating things. Do you remember these Jews who are in Europe? The one of the downfall, that the disadvantage was they couldn't have a land. In Poland, at that time, they were granted their own land. They could own the land. Poland treated Jews that well, so well that God's blessing came over, and Poland, one time, the greatest concentrated population of Jews in the world. And with that, actually, Poland got the land from the North Sea up to Mediterranean. They, one time, occupied largest territory in a European country. Amazing, isn't it? That how God's blessing came over with the Jews. Yeah. So, what happened to them? A lot of sad stories and sad incidents happened. After a while, after the years, hundreds of years, and around about the 18th century, the Polish government departed from a policy to protect the Jews, because they had a look around the other countries and etc., and this particular political parties, particular people of that time in the power, decided not to tolerate the Jews and started persecuting. As soon as they started that, something happened to Poland. What happened? 3 countries surrounding them taking over. And Poland became subject of the empires surrounding them. And they were the Russian empires, Persian empires, and Habsburg Austrian Empire. Russian Empire, Prussian Empire, and Habsburg Austrian Empire. They took over and they occupied politically Poland since then. And the persecution of Jews escalated. And history around that time, you can learn, study so much. So I encourage you to have a look if you're interested in. So that's the downfall. As soon as Polish government departed from protecting Jews, they were invaded, occupied by those 3 empires, became a puppet country. But those 3 countries, Russian Empire, Prussian Empire, and Habsburg Austria, you don't hear them anymore, do you? Yes, here comes God's word manifesting. Do you remember? I will bless you. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. The second part, I will curse those who curse you. It happened here. You see, Russian, Prussian, Habsburg, Austria persecuted Jews. They don't exist anymore. After World War I, those countries ceased to exist. What happened? Habsburg, Austria, and the Prussian empires ended after the World War I. And Russian Empire, they had revolution, the Russian Revolution. And that empire is no more. They don't exist anymore. Well, isn't it amazing? A lot of people don't see that. You just taken as a matter of fact of history. But if you look into it, God's hands in it. So, and after that, of course, Second World War, the Nazi Germany, and all those things happening. In that, somehow you can see this God's principle of Abrahamic covenant. I'm going to leave that to you to study and research and have a look, because it's so fascinating. And you can see why Jews are so much facing so much persecution. Just by looking at the Jewish history in Poland, you can have a look and see. I'm going to leave that to you. It's the next door you can walk into. Right, so that was Poland. Well, from Portugal, I said also some Jews went to Netherlands up in the north. And they are another interesting country, I would say. The Netherlands, yeah, became one of the greatest world trader in the 16th till 17th century. You see, that like in Japan, again, the Netherlands was only, well, around that time, that Japan was very closed, very, very limited in world trade. They didn't want to open up, you see. And the only country open to Japan was the Netherlands. So a lot of Netherlands influence in Japan as well in the languages and things. So that might be another interesting thing. If you're interested in Japan and all, that kind of history is very interesting to study. But Netherlands, yeah, that's it. 16th, 17th century, the greatest trader, world trader of that time, and center of the trade in Europe. Okay, Jews migrated from Portugal to Netherlands. Then, at that time, Netherlands was Spanish colony, by the way, the annex, the province. All those who were persecuted in Portugal and Spain and all that, they took refuge in Netherlands because Netherlands was considered as a safe haven who protected all those non-Catholic, non-Spanish Catholic people. So there are many Protestants were there and Jews were there, and they all protected there. So that's why they went. And there, Jews thrived in monetary trade. The money matters, the finances and trade. Actually, they established Amsterdam as one of the greatest trading port of the world, you see. And many rich people came through that. Amazing, you know. And maritime industry, the God blessed Netherlands then with all those maritime opportunity, the trade opportunity, the maritime skills, the international trade, all those things. Yeah, the skills and gifts and the people and opportunities, and even the location that Netherlands was such an important place. You know, all those opportunities just landed, and I would say that was a God's blessing. You see, they could use it for righteousness, you know, but I leave that to you. And especially in the financial trade, because whole country is based on development of this world trade. The Netherlands valued Jewish traders, Jewish financiers, Jewish money people. See, and it became the greatest, as I said, maritime trader of the world of that time. They even discovered Australia. Did you know that? Australia was discovered, and New Zealand was discovered by Netherlanders, Dutches, and traded with Asia and Japan, as I said, in all those places. And they enjoyed the prosperity. Yes, they did. So, but Netherlands, look at now, it's not the world's greatest, is it? What happened? 80 years Dutch War of Independence happened. 80 years of war. They were trying to get independence from Spain. They're going to be an independent country from Spain. That's what they did between 1568 and 1648. 8 years. Amazing. So, question is, why did it take so long? Why did it go on and on and on? 80 years. I'm not even 80. If I was there, war started before I was born and then still continue. You see, some of the people, they only knew the war 80 years. Why? Well, there are very, very good reason there. Good reason, the clear reason about this, their trading philosophy. As I said, the Netherlands, the whole country is based on this world trade. The trading things is a very big profit making. Yeah, Dutch merchants, lots of them, powerful merchants, are connected to the politicians. Politicians wants to connect. It's the same in this world as well. Currently, like anywhere, politicians want a good finance and backing. The merchants, the traders, they want good political alliance so that they can have a good advantage in a lot of different situations. So the merchants and the politicians are very much connected, you see. And they had a thing called free trade spirit policy. What is it? Well, it means that any trading agreement should not be influenced by the political means. You see, their philosophy of free trade means that their trade should be free from political agendas. Okay. So that they can trade with any countries, even the countries they're in a conflict with, the Netherlands is conflict with. They can still trade. That's what they wanted. Actually, there was a court case. It's called a guy called Palin, who's a trader. Actually went to the court because some of them said that's not morally right. You see, but he went there and actually won the case and said politics shouldn't affect the trading. You see, so what happened? It's amazing, fascinating. The Netherlands, Dutch were having a war against Spain. Yeah. So Spain was Netherlands' enemy, but Netherlands didn't have a big army or armed forces, so they didn't fight directly against them. They hired someone to fight for them. Who? They asked Britain. At that time, the Britain's biggest exporting country was Netherlands, because Netherlands was one of the biggest trader of the world. So what happened is under the Queen Elizabeth I, around that time, the main exports were the wool. That's why Britain has got a lot of sheep, a lot of wool. And the textile industry was one of the biggest traders. So Britain exported that wool to Netherlands, and Netherlands used that to trade with all over the world. Then the profit was going to be divided, etc. So Netherlands was the biggest trading partner of Britain. So Netherlands in conflict with Spain. Therefore, Netherlands asked Britain to fight against Spain because they knew that Britain had a great navy. And you know that story, the war against Britain and Spain, all those things about the armadas and etc. etc. You know that, and you can find out. Fascinating though. Yeah, Captain Horatio and that kind of things. But anyway, homebrewer, not Horatio, homebrewer, etc. Yeah. Well, anyway, Nelson, that kind of things. Yeah. Okay. So 80 years old. So Britain was warring against Spain on behalf of Netherlands. Netherlands, yes, should support Britain. So they did. But there are traders saw some trading opportunities. What is it? Spain's getting a little bit too low on ammunitions. They want to buy some bullet ammunitions. Netherlands trader thought, we got some here. Let's shift this merchandise, sell to Spain. Hang on, you might say. Netherlands warring against Spain, but selling ammunition to Spain because they're low on ammunition, so that Spain can beat Britain. Britain was fighting for Netherlands. What is it? That's a free spirit. Because Netherlands merchants could profit from this sale of ammunition to the Spain, to the enemy country. That's why it prolonged. The war was prolonged. It went on and on because Spain could carry on. That kind of thing happened. You see, at that time, this free trade spirit, the philosophy went on, was like this. If you can make a profit, you can trade with the enemy. Of course, eventually, after 80 years, Netherlands won the independence from Spain and carry on prospering. But of course, that kind of trading philosophy wouldn't go very well with any other countries around them, don't they? You see. And in 17th century, after this independence, Netherlands went into war conflict with Britain and France. The Britain and France saw how Netherlands is trading with that kind of brutal trading philosophy. Also, at that point, Netherlands was trying to get into all those Asian countries, especially India, where Britain had the East India Company, didn't it? And today, the Netherlands established Dutch East India Company. So there was a big conflict going. So Britain issued the Navigation Act of 1651, trying to suppress this expansion of Dutch trade. So they went to war. What happened? Same thing happened. They war against each other, but when the British Navy losing a bet, they needed more wood and material to build a ship. This Dutch merchant start selling the material to build the navy, the ship. They are warring against each other, but profit comes first. Profit comes first. Okay, eventually things are settled with the British way, but with that, distrust in this kind of trading philosophy didn't go with other countries, and those Jewish financiers, money traders, they see it that not profitable, not how do I say, not, they saw it would not prosper, it would not continue any further as long as Dutch is going along with that kind of trading philosophy. So they started leaving. Of course, at that time, the Britain and the France becoming greater and greater in the world status, especially in the trade. So when Jewish financiers, they saw the opportunity in Britain more than the Netherlands, they started leaving the Netherlands. You see, God says you cannot serve money and God. Netherlands decided to take money instead of righteousness. So Jewish people started leaving, and with that, Netherlands started declining. You can see where they are now. And those Jews went to Great Britain next.